His Excellency Deputy Prime Minister Chi Han, His Excellency Dr. Yaakob Ibrahim, Minister for Communication and Information, Excellency Ministers, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, allow me to extend my appreciation for inviting me to deliver once again a keynote speech in these prominent forums, namely in the second Singapore International Cyber Week. I consider this event very useful to develop a better understanding of the advantage of the new technologies in the realm of cyberspace, as well as to get the opportunity to explore new or innovative ways or minimizing and mitigating its unwanted impact that, if not managed earlier, will be difficult to handle later. Ladies and gentlemen, needless to say that as a large and highly potential e-commerce market, Indonesia has even greater interest in developing cooperation and collaborations in this field in order to secure an open but safe cyberspace. As a factual illustration, in 2016, Indonesia has recorded the internet penetration to reach 132 million out of its 256 million inhabitants, which makes 65% of the entire population. Almost all netizens is an avid user of social media. We have around 16 million users of Facebook and about 30 million of Twitter, which makes Indonesia the second fastest growing internet user community in the world. This figure clearly points out, once again, that Indonesia has huge potential in the digital economy. Considering its geographical challenges as a gigantic archipelago, it is actually quite an odd achievement. As I mentioned earlier, nowadays Indonesia is both a big consumer as well as a large market for e-commerce. Revenue in the e-commerce amount to around $7 billion in the first half of 2017 alone, and it is expected to show an annual growth rate in the next 5 years to 20%, resulting in a market volume of about $14 million in 2001. It is also expected that user penetration is 15 years and will reach 21 by 2020. It is therefore only logical the Indonesian government has adopted digital economy as one of its top national policy priority. Ladies and gentlemen, having the wrap of benefits from cyber technology, Indonesia is now confident enough to nurture its cyber vision to go digital for 2020, that is to become the largest digital economy in Southeast Asia by then. To that end, the Indonesian government has developed an e-commerce roadmap 2017-2020, where our cyber policies will help put in place the foundation to support and accelerate the implementation of the electronic-based national trading system. On cybersecurity issues, the above-mentioned number, in turn, not only make Indonesia a lucrative digital market, but also an important target for illegal activities. Ladies and gentlemen, the globalized world has seen lately the challenges that cyberspace poses, especially when we have to deal with its potentially unexpected repercussions. As a developing country, Indonesia is naturally far from immune from the cyber threats including cyber attacks. Indonesia, therefore, based its cyberspace mitigation policy on three principles, namely sovereignty, self-reliance, and cooperative, or rather collaborative security. With regard to the defensive posture of our cybersecurity, the openness of Indonesian cyberspace is often exploited as zombie buzzers area, if not false victim to others' war by proxy. Although Indonesia's capacity to respond can always be mobilized, but we prefer to join the international drive to create a peaceful and cooperative cyber environment. Accordingly, the sectoral priorities that we have selected for now are purely defensive in nature through establishing cyber legislation for cyber public services by the cyber law enforcement, cyber culture, and cyber secure market. Considering the time restraint, I do not want to go into detail. However, I would like to highlight the concern that all those priorities are interlinked in the effort to establish a robust national cyber ecosystem that can be reliable to both safety and protection. Having said that, we do not claim that Indonesia is already self-reliant and has reached a state of readiness where we can tackle the cyber challenges on our own. As I mentioned earlier, the cyberspace with all its different subsystems is such a complex phenomenon that practically no government in the world is currently able to control the cyber world on its own. Collaboration and partnership for our mutual benefit is the best path to pursue. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been trying to find the right formula to define and regulate the cyberspace. There is indeed an urgent need to create a universal or at least a regionally accepted set or norm of frameworks to regulate the global information system and establish a cyberspace security arrangement. In fact, we are in the belief that governments should uphold the global commitment on an open, secure, stable, accessible, inclusive, and tolerant cybersecurity. Indonesia, since the very beginning, support the initiatives to set up the above-mentioned norm within the ASEAN framework and mechanism. In a nutshell, norm setting thus becomes the next step towards the establishment of a more transparent, responsible, inclusive, and secure regional space. We need to strengthen further this cooperation by establishing common position on how to deal with the issue. Regarding international and regional collaboration on capacity building, cyber infrastructure building, and critical information sharing. Expressed more boldly, ASEAN with its diversity of culture, wealth, and local wisdom should in the future be able to lead the international community by demonstrating to the world the willingness to establish and nurture an inclusive and tolerant cyber ecosystem. In our own side, Indonesia has set up a range of policies regulating the cybersecurity, such as the establishment of National Cyber Agency to strengthen existing legislation in making the law enforcement effective. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, cyber technology has also brought security challenges to our society. We are now experiencing the consequences from how groups of irresponsible people have abused the technology in the most destructive way. Abuses manifested in particular form, such as propagating hate speech or propaganda of intolerance, disseminating misinformation, and hoax and terrorist activities which generate conflicts. Let me share briefly my perspective, particularly on potential use of cyber technology by terrorists in advancing their cause. While technology is now much cheaper to acquire and easier to access, ironically, it could at the same time create greater negative impact. It can be quickly exploited by terrorists, either concerted or lone wolf in their manifestation, to expand their network and ideology, to generate their financial support, to improve their combat capabilities, including development their bomb-making techniques. There are activities where no conventional authority has a complete control over it. This is the reason why Indonesia stepped up cooperation with like-minded countries as well as corporations based on the principle of shared responsibility in the fight against any abuse of the cyberspace in general and cyberterrorism in particular. As an example, the Indonesian cyber authorities did not take long to block around 11 domain name systems owned by the Telegram encrypted messaging application after collecting evidences that the application has been widely used by local terrorists to communicate and spread radical ideologies in Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, let me close my remarks by reiterating the importance of cooperation, collaboration, and the mutually beneficial partnership in utilizing cyber technology while preventing it to become a new source of conflicts. Indonesia and ASEAN will be part of this in the full as part of our shared responsibility in maintaining peace, stability, and prosperity in our region. I believe the above mentioned endeavors can evolve into regional consensus among ASEAN's member countries on the importance to jointly ensure a secure, inclusive, plural, and responsible cyberspace. Our sincere hope that the deliberation in this forum will be very useful as inputs to improve early initiatives and undertakings. Thank you.